A devoted stay-at-home father vanishes overnight. Police label it a walk away. His child quietly says she saw him lying on the floor. The house is cleaned. The case is closed anyway. 26 years later, one call reopens everything. And what investigators uncover behind that home will finally expose what really happened that night. Before we begin tonight's true crime deep dive, I need you to do one small thing that helps this channel survive and keeps these stories alive. If you care about cold cases, forgotten victims, and the uncomfortable truths hidden behind closed doors, tap the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications right now. Because what you're about to hear is not just another crime story. It's a case that shattered an entire family, quietly rewrote a child's future, and hid its darkest secret in plain sight for decades. At first, this looks like a familiar tragedy, a sudden disappearance, a grieving partner, and a community desperate for answers. But nothing in this story is what it seems. The timeline doesn't line up. The witnesses contradict each other. And the one voice everyone dismissed may have been telling the truth all along. Tonight's case takes us deep into the heart of the United States, into a quiet neighborhood where a single lie protected the wrong person and destroyed the right one. Stay with me to the very end, because the twist you're about to hear changes who you think the victim was, and who you think the monster is. On a humid Tuesday night in June 1998, the quiet cul-de-sac of Willow Ridge Drive in suburban Missouri was settling into routine. Inside a narrow two-story home lived Daniel Carter, a 32-year-old stay-at-home father, known by neighbors as soft-spoken, patient, and completely devoted to his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. That night, Daniel's wife, Marissa Carter, returned from a late shift at a regional logistics firm. According to her statement, the house felt strangely still. Dinner sat untouched on the stove. Daniel's phone was on the kitchen counter. Lily was asleep upstairs. Marissa told police that she assumed her husband had stepped out to cool off after an argument they'd had earlier that evening, a disagreement about money, and about Daniel's growing frustration with being financially dependent on her. By morning, Daniel still hadn't come home. His wallet was missing. His car remained in the driveway, and the front door was locked from the inside. When officers arrived, Marissa stood in the living room repeating the same sentence again and again. He just needed space. But what made detectives uneasy wasn't what was missing. It was what had been carefully left behind. And upstairs, in a child's bedroom, a single quiet witness had already noticed something no adult had asked about. By noon, detectives sat across from Marissa Carter at the dining table, a notepad between them and a half-cold cup of coffee in her trembling hands. She told them Daniel had been overwhelmed lately. He cooked. He cleaned. He walked Lily to school every morning. And, according to Marissa, he had grown resentful of her long hours and higher salary. He said he felt invisible, she whispered. The argument, she explained, had started over a credit card bill. Daniel wanted to take a part-time job. Marissa said it would disrupt Lily's routine. Voices were raised. Doors were closed. But Marissa insisted nothing physical happened. She said Daniel grabbed his jacket sometime after 10. He said he just needed air. Detectives noted something odd. No jacket was missing. Not from the hallway hook. Not from the bedroom closet. They asked Marissa if Daniel had friends nearby. She shook her head. Family. Out of state. Anyone he might run to? No. When officers searched the house, there were no signs of a struggle. No broken furniture. No blood. No forced entry. It looked like a clean, voluntary walkaway. But when one detective quietly asked Lily if she had seen her dad leave that night, the little girl paused. Then whispered something no one expected. He didn't go outside. The interview with Lily happened in the small playroom at the police station, surrounded by stuffed animals and pastel foam mats. She sat cross-legged on the floor, swinging one pink sock back and forth. A trained child interviewer asked gentle, careful questions. "Do you remember last night?" Lily nodded. "Did you see your dad?" Another nod. "When?" Her answer was soft. "After Mommy came home." The room shifted. The interviewer asked if Lily saw Daniel leave the house. Lily shook her head slowly. "He was in the laundry room." They asked her what he was doing. She frowned, searching for the right words. "He was on the floor. Mommy was mad." The interviewer carefully avoided leading her. "What do you mean by mad?" Lily squeezed her stuffed bear. She told him to stop making noise. When asked if Daniel spoke to her, Lily whispered one final sentence. "He told me to go upstairs. That was all." No mention of yelling. No mention of hitting. No dramatic story. Just small, uncomfortable details. Still, the detectives walked out of the room divided. Children misinterpret things. Memories blur. Stress can create stories. And there was a simpler explanation. A grown man walked out on his family. So that is what the official report quietly leaned toward. Daniel Carter had left on his own. And the only person who said otherwise was 6 years old. 3 days after Daniel Carter vanished, forensic technicians returned to the house on Willow Ridge Drive. This time, they searched with purpose. The laundry room Lily had mentioned was small and narrow, wedged between the kitchen and the garage. A single light buzzed overhead. A utility sink sat beneath a shelf stacked with detergent and folded towels. Nothing looked disturbed. The floor was clean. Too clean. One technician noticed faint streaks along the baseboard behind the washing machine, lines that suggested something heavy had been dragged, then wiped away. Luminol was sprayed across the tile. The room glowed. Not in large pools, but in thin, broken smears. The result was documented, photographed, and quietly debated. The traces were not strong enough to confirm blood. The house, investigators concluded, had simply been lived in. Marissa explained the marks easily. She said a bottle of fabric dye had spilled the week before. She said she cleaned it herself. No receipts. No witness. Just her word. They searched the garage next. Daniel's tools were neatly lined on the wall. His phone charger sat plugged in beside an empty workbench. Nothing suggested a rushed exit. Nothing suggested violence. Only a room a child had mentioned. And a glow on the floor no test could fully explain. The house kept it secret. And the case quietly began to cool. By the end of that summer, Daniel Carter was no longer listed as an active missing person. He was classified as a voluntary disappearance. For Marissa Carter, the change meant something else entirely. Freedom. Within 6 months, she sold the Willow Ridge house and moved 2 counties away to a newer subdivision outside St. Louis. Lily transferred schools. New doctors. New neighbors. A fresh story. Her father had left. It became the only version anyone heard. Marissa told friends Daniel had struggled with depression. That he felt trapped. That she had begged him to stay for Lily's sake. No one questioned it. A year later, Marissa quietly petitioned the court to have Daniel declared legally absent. It allowed her to refinance her mortgage, access joint accounts, and move forward without his signature. There was no body. No suspect. No reason to stop her. Lily, now 7, began waking from nightmares. She stopped asking when her dad would come home. Instead, she started asking if she had done something wrong. A school counselor documented sudden anxiety, guilt fixation, and an intense fear of laundry rooms. The notes were filed. The case was not reopened. And in a filing cabinet downtown, Daniel Carter became another name slowly buried under newer emergencies. A missing man. Not a crime. Lily Carter left home the first chance she got. By 18, she was living in a college dorm 3 hours away, telling people her father had died, not because anyone confirmed it, but because it was easier than explaining the space he still occupied in her memory. For years, she tried to convince herself the image she carried was only a dream. Her father lying on a cold tile floor. The buzzing laundry light. Her mother's voice, sharp and low. "Stop making noise." But trauma doesn't fade when it's ignored. It waits. When Lily was 24, a detective from a neighboring county cold case unit called her unexpectedly. A new task force had begun quietly re-reviewing long-term missing adults with unresolved child witness statements. Her name had surfaced in a database note. One line. Child last saw missing parent inside home after reported departure. Lily froze on the phone. The detective asked a single question. "Has anyone ever followed up with you about what you saw?" No one had. Not once. 2 weeks later, Lily agreed to give a recorded statement for the first time as an adult. And this time, her memory came back sharper, clearer, and far more disturbing than what she had said at 6 years old. Lily sat in the interview room with both hands folded in her lap, staring at the red recording light on the wall. She didn't cry. She didn't hesitate. She spoke slowly, like someone reading from a page she had memorized for years. She told detectives that after her mother came home that night, she heard arguing from her bedroom. Not shouting. Just sharp, rushed voices. Then a loud, heavy sound. Like something dropping. She said she opened her door and saw her father lying halfway inside the laundry room. His legs were twisted toward the hallway. His face was turned away. Her mother was standing over him. Lily said Marissa looked at her and calmly told her to go back upstairs. She said Daddy was being dramatic. Lily returned to her bed. A few minutes later, she heard water running. For a long time. Then something scraping across the floor. The part Lily had never told anyone before came next. She said her mother woke her up in the middle of the night and made her stand in the hallway. Not to help, but to watch the front door. "So nobody comes in," Marissa told her. Lily was 6, and she understood exactly what that meant. The problem with reopening Daniel Carter's case was painfully simple. The house where he vanished no longer belonged to Marissa. It belonged to a retired couple who had lived there quietly for almost 19 years. But Lily's adult statement changed the classification overnight. No longer a disappearance. A suspected domestic homicide. Investigators obtained a search warrant and returned to Willow Ridge Drive for the first time in nearly 2 decades. The laundry room was remodeled. New tile. New cabinets. New paint. Whatever happened inside that narrow space was long gone. So detectives widened the scope. Ground-penetrating radar was brought in. The backyard was scanned in tight, overlapping grids. Most of the yard showed nothing but old irrigation lines and tree roots. But near the back fence, behind what had once been a small concrete patio slab, one section pulsed differently. A rectangular disturbance. Too uniform. Too deep. The new homeowners watched silently as a small excavation team lifted the corner of the old slab. Beneath it was compacted soil. Dark. Layered. And filled with plastic fragments. Less than 3 feet down, a shovel struck something solid. Not rock. Not wood. Bone. After 26 years of silence, Daniel Carter was finally found. Exactly where Lily said he never left. The forensic results came back faster than anyone anticipated. The remains beneath the old patio slab were confirmed as Daniel Carter. His skull showed a single, catastrophic fracture to the back of the head. The medical examiner ruled it a homicide. Cause of death: blunt force trauma. But what pushed the case forward wasn't just how Daniel died. It was what investigators found tangled inside the compacted soil. A broken plastic detergent cap. And a crushed metal doorstop, the same model still sold in the hardware store less than a mile from the house Marissa once shared with Daniel. When detectives brought Marissa Carter in for questioning, She didn't ask why. She only asked how Lily was doing. For nearly 2 hours, Marissa repeated the story she had told in 1998. The argument, the door closing, Daniel leaving. Then the lead detective slid a single photograph across the table. Not the bones. Not the yard. A childhood drawing Lily had submitted to a school counselor years earlier. A small figure lying on a square floor. A woman standing over it. A door. Marissa's mouth opened. No sound came out. And for the first time in 26 years, the person everyone believed had nothing left to hide. Marissa finally spoke late into the third interview. Her voice was flat. She didn't deny hiding Daniel. She didn't deny moving his body. But she denied killing him. According to Marissa, the argument Lily remembered wasn't about money. It was about a secret Daniel had been hiding. Marissa told detectives she had discovered messages on Daniel's phone earlier that week. Messages from a private online forum for people seeking children. When she confronted him, she claimed he admitted something far worse. That Lily had been his target. She said that night, Daniel tried to stop her from calling the police. They struggled in the laundry room. He slipped. His head struck the metal doorstop mounted behind the door. Marissa said he never got up. The silence that followed terrified her more than the fall. And instead of calling for help, she chose what she believed would protect her daughter. She cleaned. She buried. She erased him. The twist prosecutors struggled with wasn't whether Marissa destroyed evidence. That was undeniable. The twist was intent. Forensic reconstruction supported a fall, not a swing. In the end, Marissa Carter was charged, not with murder, but with concealment of a death and tampering with human remains. Lily didn't lose her father the way everyone believed. She lost him to a secret no one was brave enough to expose. If this story stayed with you, if it made you question what you thought you understood about justice, memory, and truth, then please take a moment to support this channel. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes every victim deserves to be remembered, no matter how long their case has been buried. Stories like this don't disappear because they lack evidence. They disappear because people stop paying attention. And tonight's case proves just how dangerous silence can be. Behind every cold file number is a real person, a family that waited, a child who grew up without answers, and a truth that fought to survive long after everyone else had moved on. The system didn't fail because it was broken. It failed because the wrong assumptions were trusted, and the right voices were ignored. This channel exists to give those voices a second chance to be heard. So if you want more deep-dive true crime stories, carefully researched, respectfully told, and focused on the people who were left behind, subscribe and stay with me. Because the next story is already waiting. And just like this one, its truth has been silent for far too long.